Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Charlotte McGinnis, and I'm here with a awesome, very special lady today, Claudia Parkhurst. And I want to thank you all for joining us on my weekly heart-to-heart soulful conversation. As you know, I have a random variety of guests with random opinions, variety of thoughts about living and life. And I think what we're trying to accomplish here, what I'm choosing to accomplish, is to understand that we're more alike than we are different, and everybody has gifts to share, and everybody has an interesting story, and Claudia is no exception to this. And Claudia, I'd like to thank you for joining me today.
Oh, you are so welcome. I'm honored. It's fun to see you. Yeah. Oh, I see you when I watch you on your cat podcast, but it's fun to watch you and to be one-on-one with you.
Yeah, well, you too. And, just for the listeners out there, I met Claudia and her husband 30 years ago, probably at least, in Palm Beach County, Florida. And at that time, there was a center called the Church of Today that you and Bill were involved in. And somewhere around that same time, I had been involved with the Unity Church and then started the Palm Beach Center for Living. And through that process, a lot of us sort of crossed paths and sort of commingled with each other. It was a great time. And we've just developed a friendship then and there. And although we haven't seen each other physically, I bet for 20 years, uh,
Easily.
easily, we still remain connected, which is very cool. And that's a blessing of social media. So when did you all move to Ocala?
We moved up here in 1993.
Oh, wow.
We
Really?
bought the land in 1990 and we moved in 93 onto the property, which you know where it was before the house.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, it's hard to, I didn't realize it had been that long. Wow.
And it was wilderness. You
Mhm.
remember.
Oh, I remember. I
Wasn't
remember.
a driveway coming in. Yeah.
But it was a beautiful parcel of land. And,
Yeah.
you bought it because of your affinity for horses. And what did you start with there with your horses? What prompted that move to Ocala, and where did you
Well,
start
Bill
with
and
these
I had
horses?
our horses in training not too far from where we are. And we thought, well, we'll get a two-bedroom cottage, a little two-stall barn on 5 acres, and then we'll go up on the weekends and take the horses there, blah, blah, blah. So we had a realtor, and I'm looking at 5 acre parcels. And all of a sudden she says, you've got to come see this property. And Bill and I go to see this property. And there's no driveway coming into, we don't even know where it ends, where it begins. It's just wilderness. It's all overgrown, beautiful big oak trees. And we had that feeling of, this is it. We're, this is it. This is a powerful place. And so I said to them, and just a second, hold on, honey. Yeah. Can you turn that water off? Yeah, well. Thanks. I'm on live.
Hi, Bill.
Hello. Oh, well, we have water in the background. So we find this piece of property, and it was, I love telling the story because both of our dreams was to live on some kind of a farm with our horses. Ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to do that. So we find this property, and it was 80 acres, and he was asking $4,000 an acre. And I don't really do math, but I know that's 320,000, and we happen to have 100,000. So I always tell people, who cares? So I said to him, show me the other pieces. He shows them. I said, take us back to the other one. We come back here. Bill and I still have the same heart connection to this land. And I looked the guy in the eye. I said, what are you asking? He said, well, I was asking 4,000 an acre, but I'm really desperate. Will you give me 2,000? Well, now I know we're down to 160,000. So I'm only $60,000 away. I can't believe I could do this math in my head. So we're sitting there, and I said, well, can we buy 40 acres? He said, well, you buy 50. Bingo. And then we said yes. And then he said, well, come on over to my farm. And we drove down through the pastures and these fields and the woods to his farm. And he got out a map, an aerial map, and said, Bill, draw out your 50 acres.
Wow.
So I share that story. I've been sharing it ever since it happened. to tell people, don't pay attention to the facts.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention what's in your heart and what you believe and what you really passionately want. And all of a sudden, we have 50 acres.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I think I do remember that story,
Yeah.
but I had forgotten. That's wonderful. Well,
And,
we
and I,
always called you the greatest manifester.
I am a very good manifester. And you know, Edwin Gaines taught me so much about that. And I own it and I claim it. I don't go, oh, no, I don't. Oh, yeah, I do. So anyway, I like to say to people, I was never good at decimals. And what's 50 acres and 5 acres? It's a decimal point. So
There you go.
So,
And that's true. Absolutely. But we have to be willing to get out of the limited thinking and
oh
the
yeah,
beliefs of the world. And I know that's where we're going to go with this conversation.
yeah.
We're so much bigger than we ever allow ourselves to be, and it's very cool. So you all have taken that farm and that 50 acres, and even as far back as I remember being there, you had done a lot of work on it, but I haven't been there in a while, so I can only imagine.
Oh
Seen
yeah,
pictures. So what
yeah.
do you have on your property now? You all
Well,
started off in a trailer.
we were
But
in a 10-year-old mobile trailer that's
yeah,
still with us, and it's our
yeah,
Airbnb.
there you
And
go.
when you were here with all the kids whose mothers had AIDS, unfortunately, um, you were in the mobile home in the trailer. The kids were all over the place. Anyway, that's another story for another time. But it
Well,
sure
we'll
was a
get to
good.
that. Yeah. Okay.
But the word, and it keeps coming up, and it was one of the first words you said when we were talking prior to this. And one of the words I said when Bill and I stood on this ground is connected. And it's such a powerful word because we are connected to everything and we are connected to each other, even though we don't think sometimes we are. I mean, look at the years you and I've been connected, but far
Mhm.
apart.
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people lose, a lot of times. Well, I tell the story back in 2018. Uh, I knew that I was done with the center. As you know, I had the center in Florida for many years and then this Namaste Center up here. And it
Mm-hmm.
became more about the brick and the mortar and the new building and managing staff and doing this and doing that. And it became less and less about connection and serving. And so I had a really strong directive from Spirit shortly after I retired to do an online ministry. And then within a year, I was up and running, and within a year, COVID hit. And it seems to be the direction that a lot of ministries are going. Well, I won't even say ministries, a lot of just a lot of people doing podcasts, all kinds of things. And it's wonderful. And, some people say, oh no, I need that face to face. I need that physical connection. And I get that. I do get that. But in reality, I do feel that you can have a heart connection very easily, just like we are here. It's like you're sitting in my living room. And thank God for that. That's a good use of technology. And now that we're on to technology, what about what are your thoughts on AI? I've been asking everybody that lately.
I don't even know what it is. I mean, I know what it is. I think, why do we need it?
Well, it's progression, I guess, but to me, in my research about it, and people I respect in the field of science and spirituality, if we're not careful, we're walking a fine line. We have the power of the universe within us, in our hearts, like you said, and in our minds. And people are a little too willing, I think, to give that power away to, writing scripts, writing sermons, doing this or that. So, and it goes way deeper than that. I mean, technology's taken over the AI thing in many ways. And I think Greg Braden says it less or best is it's as if we're having a battle for the soul of humanity. And we
That
forgot. Yeah.
that rings true with me. That rings true with me. Why would how when I'm speaking to, let's say I'm speaking to a group and not a speech, I'm going to talk to them. Why would I want AI? Why wouldn't I speak from my heart? Why
Mhm.
wouldn't I say what is the essence of me in expression. How could AI do that?
Right. Well,
Can't. In
and
my
it's
opinion,
true.
it can't.
Well, it can't get to the real soul of the matter of who we are. And I don't know if you remember Shelley Entine. She was a Floridian who moved up here, astrologer, author, recently
Oh
written some
yeah.
books.
Hmm.
Great gal. And she was on a few weeks ago, and she said, but AI couldn't have written my books. And because her books were so soulful. And I think
Exactly.
that's the difference there. So do we want
So
to
is
stay
it
in our hearts?
so is it the person that doubts their soul's intelligence that would go to AI?
I think that's part of it, but it's also, I think, the mass programming. We're so bombarded with all the benefits of this, and I I'm a believer that everything can work together for good, right? But even
Hmm.
in medicine and pharmaceuticals, we're so, give me a pill to fix it. I just want it fixed now and then, and just give it away. And no one really wants to do the inner, I won't say nobody, a lot of people do, but it's
Do
really
the
about doing the inner work. I think people are lazy. They just want that instant gratification. Fix it.
yes, I believe people have been programmed into that, and
Mhm.
they're not looking for what is the root of the issue. What is the source of my pain? What is the source of what's going on in my life? And I don't like this part, but it's usually me if something's not going right. No, I don't like that part, but I
Well, but that's the first step in healing the issue, right? Is accepting responsibility. And we want to blame it on somebody else. We want to not, this isn't my issue, that's yours.
you
And
made me
until
do
we
that.
own it, we can't fix it.
Mhm. Exactly, exactly. But going back to AI, it's not exactly the same thing, but it triggers this for me. The self checkouts.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I,
that is it, part of it.
I will not, no, let me say it the proper way. I will always go to where there's a person checking me out because I want the connection with the person to be able to say, hi, how are you? Thank you for serving me today. Have a blessed day. Now
Well,
I could do that to the machine, but
well, and
frankly,
not to mention that they can keep a job, right? Give
oh,
that person a
that's the
job.
other thing. I'm
Yeah,
supporting their job.
right.
I I just am not. I'm just so much more comfortable with a human being.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you on
Mhm.
that. So a couple of things, I want to back up just a little bit. You
Mhm.
had, uh, first of all, we can't go without talking about the trip up with the kids, and the Palm Beach Center for Living that we had in Florida was actually one of what Marianne Williamson had actually started her two centers. She had a Manhattan Center for Living, but her first one was Los Angeles, and it was during the AIDS crisis. And there was a lot of, she offered spiritual support for people with AIDS. Well, through Marianne's blessing and support, we opened one in Florida. It was a thriving ministry. We expanded beyond the AIDS community, but we did have a lot of families, generally the mothers who had AIDS and the kids. So we offered a lot of opportunities for them. Every weekend we would do a picnic and outing, but then you and Bill were adventurous and kind enough to offer your
Crazy.
crazy enough to say, come on up. I don't even remember how many people were there, but it was a big group. And we put
Oh,
the mothers in the local motel and the kids in tents and all over. And then we had our team of volunteers, and it was a blast. And those kids, I guarantee, will never, even 30 years later, have not forgotten that weekend.
and a friend of ours heard about it, and he brought over his llama and his goat, I think, and a donkey and a mini horse for the kids to pet and see. And
Yeah,
then another friend of ours, his two sons who were young, God, they must have been 9, 10, 11, maybe. They came over and showed the kids how to rope. They were cowboys,
I
little
remember.
cowboys,
Yeah.
and showed them how to rope. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful day. And we talked about the little boy that fell in love with our little dog, Rudy, who was not a social dog at all, didn't really like anybody but us. And that dog leaned into him and loved on that little boy on the porch. And then we, the girls are in one tent, the boys are in another. And all of a sudden we hear all this commotion. The girls are out. We're scared. We want to get in the boys' tent. We're like, no, that is not happening.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, that was a good try, right?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And the kids were just great. I don't remember all the things we did. We had a cookout and the mothers. Oh, the mothers were just so grateful. And
Oh,
all I
yeah.
could think about is how they were sick, you know.
Mhm.
And back then I don't think they had the help, the medical help they do today with AIDS. So it's like,
Yeah, I think
but
sadly most of those mothers are no
they're
longer.
gone. Yeah.
And
And however, and I think this goes back to leading a being conscious for that weekend, for those moments, all that was forgotten. And it
Mhm.
was just fun, and it was in nature and animals and people that loved them and giving and that magical time that we really can access any moment in our minds in the midst of insanity, you know, like their disease. But
Right.
and so if we can offer that to people, and you certainly did with your group, and we know so many people that have just a few minutes to get out of the real world and no, get out of the world and get into the real world, which is
Exactly.
love and harmony. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and it was a full weekend, and that was just a total respite for them and fun for all of us. And thank you again for offering, you and Bill. That was
Oh
really,
yeah.
it was one of the more memorable times of my life, truly.
Yeah.
And you all continue to sprinkle your fairy dust up there. I know you're huge in the for dogs, rescue
20
animals.
some years ago, Bill started a no-kill shelter up here. And we didn't even have a shelter. People just fostered the dogs. And now there is a shelter, and the people that are running it have just expanded it. It is fabulous. We are saving dogs. I mean, they are saving dogs, but it's Bill's legacy. He did it. He
That's
started.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And well, I remember you sold a page in the calendar, put our Lily.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
she was in the calendar, but
that's true.
yeah, she had on her little boa and everything, and she looked so cute. But yeah, and now you told me about a neat project you guys are doing. What is it? The Black Stallion
Literacy
Literacy? Yeah, what is that?
project. We're with a group called the Ocala Horse Alliance. And the idea is to bring all kinds of horse people together in the community and make people more aware of that is the thriving thing that drives our city of Ocala, the Marion County, the horse capital of the world. So we raise funds to provide 3,500 fourth graders in Marion County the book The Black Stallion. And one of there are not numerous reasons. One is to help improve the reading and get children interested in reading. And then we also have the curriculum that the teachers teach it. It's part of the curriculum. They don't just get the book. They get tested on it and everything. And also to expose these children to opportunities for careers in the horse industry. We think everybody knows about horses because everybody we know has a horse, has had a horse, and knows about horses. But there are a lot of people in Marion County who've never touched one, never been close to one. So we get the books, we get farms to sponsor some books, we put labels in the front of the farm that sponsors them, and we get the books distributed out to the schools. And then in addition to that, we will go to the schools with horses, and the children get to pet one and ask questions. And we just did one recently at a school. We have a friend of ours who's an ex-jockey. She shows them how they have to get down, how they have to ride. Another was a farrier, and showing them job opportunities. You could be a jockey, you could be a farrier, you could make the silks, you could make the saddles, you can braid horses, you could have a feed store. So that's what we do. One of the things I did in that was showing them how we measure horses in hands, which is 4 inches is a hand. And we have this stick that you measure. Well, the kids just all wanted to be measured, So we measured.
Yeah.
So we had miniature horses and ponies, and then there was a teacher who was 18 hands. She was a hunter jumper, big horse. So yeah, fun. So again, bringing some joy to this particular school is very underprivileged. And we brought a lot of joy and a lot of happiness to those kids. And when I would ask them about their favorite parts in the book, and they'd say, "Oh, when the boy rode the black stallion on the beach, or when they won the race," they read it, and they read it with passion.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, you and Dolly Parton are putting the books out there, right?
Oh, yeah. God bless
Yeah,
Doc. Oh, that's another story. We went to
yeah.
a fundraiser for therapeutic riding, and they had a Dolly Parton contest.
Oh,
And
wow.
guess who in our household went as Dolly Parton?
I have a feeling it wasn't you.
We dressed him up. I'll just send you the picture. We dressed him up when we walked in. Our friend who's head of this therapeutic riding, she looked at him. I thought she was going to fall on the ground. He got
Oh
out
my
there, lip
God.
synced and danced. He was not attractive.
Oh, well,
but
Bill's always attractive. He and
he had he was fun though. He got the
well, you
most.
two are fun, and Bill is no exception to that. And you got to send pictures one of these days. That's hilarious. But
we had a neighbor who saw him, and she said, "Oh my God, I can't unsee that."
yeah, well, I would
So,
imagine.
yeah, it's that thread of connection. We don't even give it a second thought. If it's something we think is a good thing, and we're interested, and we like the people, we just jump in. Whether it's dog rescue or therapeutic riding or the horse project, or somebody starting a restaurant. If it's good, we'll promote it. We'll do.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're here to do, is to really, it all comes down. I mean, you can only get so much stuff, get so much money, this and that. It really comes down to connecting and serving and making people's lives a little nicer, bringing a little sunshine to the world. And I have to say, and you don't have to answer this, but I do know your age, and I had, I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. But obviously what you and Bill do is it's anti-aging, what you all do. And yeah, so share with the group if you choose, because you're a great example.
Because I don't even know if I can count this high anymore. Yeah, I'm going to be 80 in November. And Bill, how old are you? 86? 87? What are you going to be? Bill? Oh, I guess he's not there.
What did you say?
He was born in 1937. So he'll be 87.
84, right.
Will you be, no, how old are you going to be, Bill?
87.
Yeah, he'll be 87. So here we are, octogenarians. I'm almost one, but in my heart, I'm always 10.
Well, there you go. And that's the secret, right?
That's the secret. And we work hard on this farm. We do physical work here. We enjoy our horses. We love our dogs. We have lots of good friends. And it keeps us young. We do not have time. Somebody said, "Do you have arthritis?" I said, "Hell no, I don't have time to get that."
Well, and you're so right. And I watch a lot of little videos, and there was a gal she's a doctor out in California, McConnell, something like that. Anyway, she's a more of a holistic type doctor. And I like what she said. And she said she always reminds her patients, and I know we've all heard this, but it's such a strong point, and I think you're making it too, is that she always says to her patients, whatever you give your dominant attention to is going to be your experience. And so you're too busy, because you're out living life and enjoying life instead of obsessing about anger, how, all the things that are wrong. And this ache, you focus on the ache and pain, it's going to get bigger, right?
And even if I am upset, let's say with what's doing politically, I just take a deep breath and go, all right, Claudia, it's in God's hands. Just get on with your business. I keep busy, and I also take time. And I might be sitting on my horse when I do it. I might be walking out to the barn. I just stop and I just say, thank you, God.
Yeah.
And I do it. And I say, look where I live. look, I look at this. It is my wildest dream.
Mhm,
And there's such, it feeds my soul.
mhm. Yeah,
And if once the work becomes too overwhelming and the place isn't fun, then it's time to move on. But even on those days when I think, "Oh, I just don't feel like doing that," I go, okay, well, I don't have to do it. I'll do it tomorrow.
there you go.
And there was a time when I've been so driven, I got to get it all done. Okay. No, I think I'll just hang it up for today.
Yeah. And I think that that's a great lesson. And, yeah, when it's no more fun, you'll find something else to do, right?
Exactly.
And I know something you love to do as well is travel. Nobody
Oh,
is more well-traveled than you.
well,
What's your favorite place you've been? And now you tell me you're going to Cambodia and Vietnam,
in
but
Thailand.
in Thailand, wow.
Uh, I'll tell you the most interesting and surprising was India
Hmm.
because I didn't want to go. And a guide that I had in Africa said the company I travel with in Africa only does India and Africa. And he said, you really, really should go to India with Mikado. It was phenomenal. One of the lessons, major lessons I got early on, I don't know if you've ever been there, but they drive like this. There are no lanes. Everybody has their hand on the horn. It's all crazy. I'm going, oh my, we had a driver. He got it. I didn't worry. And I realized that that was their rhythm.
Mhm.
And just because it wasn't my rhythm doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. Bingo. And I
There
thought,
you go. Lesson,
oh,
life lesson number one, right?
oh, I had to
Yeah.
go all the way to India and get this big picture to be able to figure out in the little pictures my judgment is causing this type of thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
There go the dogs.
Oh, that's how many dogs do you have now?
Somebody
3?
just came in. I'm on a Zoom. Thanks. That's our friend Jamie dropping off the mail. So India was just such an education. And the other thing, even their artwork, the mosaics in the palaces and all, it could look like a hodgepodge, but it flows. It flows. It's it was one of the most beautiful countries ever been in. The people were beautiful. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and there's poverty, but there's poverty everywhere. And they seem to have an acceptance or an understanding of it because of their caste system.
Right.
But that was the most interesting and eye-opening. And the other places, well, it all depends. I mean, depends on who I'm with. I mean, Melissa and I had so much fun in Scotland. We laughed so hard, but that was with who I was with. And then I'm trying to think,
Well, I know you were just at your niece's wedding in
oh, Lake Como.
Lake
Now
Como.
that I've been to Italy many times. I love Italy. And Lake Como is beautiful. The best part of her wedding, as beautiful it was and spectacular, but it was gentle and loving, and it was nurturing in all the of it. When you think the meal was served in this walled garden with statues, and there was blooming jasmine all over the walls and roses everywhere. I mean, it was just, how could it, as Abraham said, a heart opener? How could
Yeah.
it not open your heart?
Well,
Yeah.
the pictures were gorgeous. It looked
Yeah.
spectacular. So good for you, and congratulations to her. That's
Yeah.
fabulous.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, speaking of spiritual interest, one thing we have in common is our love of Course in Miracles and how it's really our primary spiritual path. And although there's other spiritual interests that you have, and I do as well, that seems to be you said you practice that every day, almost
I read my little meditation every day. It takes, not to take very long. It just reminds me, choose love when I'm not.
Well, that's the bottom line, isn't it? And
Yeah.
that we're always at choice for that, and that we do have we have to take self-responsibility. I don't know if we talked about it after we got this started or before, but it always comes back to this world is a projection of what's inside of me, right? So
Yeah,
a
my
lot of people don't like that
project.
part.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, the Course in Miracles, A Course in Miracles has been a powerful stepping stone through life for me. Keeps me, I think it's like the big book in AA. You know, it just brings you back, brings me back, brings me back. And I think it's so funny. When we lived in Atlantis, probably before I knew you, some friends of ours had given us the books. And I thought, what a stupid name, A Course in Miracles. I didn't even open them. And I judged them. How's that? Bill looks at me. He at least opened them and thumbed through. He said, these don't make any sense at all. Back on the bookcase they go. You know how that works with that.
Oh, yeah.
Course.
Yeah.
Richard Beck calls us up and he said, you've got to come to this Course in Miracles meeting. I'm like, what? He said, oh, yeah, you're going to love it. That was it.
That was
the door
it.
opened. The student stepped in.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Well, and now, you were showing me that book that a friend had shared with you earlier before. And
One was The Art of Grace and one was The Awakened Way, making the shift to a divine guided life.
yeah, well, the second one you just mentioned was the one you had talked to me a little bit about. Both of them you did.
Yeah.
But what did you had made it? I even forget what you said, but you had shared with me something that was really neat.
In The Awakened Way, she had demonstrations of connecting with people that were on the other side. And it was when she started to realize that we're not bodies, that we are spirit, we are souls. And it is actually our souls that are connecting and that they are never disconnected. And so what I gather from this, it reminded me that the more I can shift to a divinely guided life rather than a human guided life, the more at peace I'm going to be. Because no matter what, even if I'm alienated from someone for whatever reason and I don't understand and I still care for them, or even if I didn't care for them, our souls are connected. And the only connection souls have is love, because that's the essence of God. And so no matter what, I know that I love that person and that person loves me. They're just not vibrating physically in that energy field. And so when I think of them, instead of in the past being upset or bringing up pain or whatever, I just shower them with thoughts of love and goodness all over them. And I love that practice. And that the woman, this book reminds me of that. And of course, the Course in Miracles definitely reminds me of that. So it's fun to put those principles into practice in a simple way.
Right.
Absolutely. And friends, especially my brother who's over on the other side, my God, he died, I don't know how many years ago, 40 years ago. I still feel his presence. He's still around. I still say, oh, I miss you. I wish you could have been at this wedding. You would have loved it. I still talk to him. And I think it's so important to remember that, especially in this day and age of ungracefulness in certain areas, that we can choose to move through life gracefully. And because we are connected with grace, we just shrug it off sometimes and throw it away and with an angry moment or an angry thought. And I think in our country, with some of the things that are going on and are driven by the press and make people think everybody feels that way, and they don't, is that if each of us could just remember that we are children of a bigger being, I call it God, you can call it whatever you want, and that we are connected, and that we may look different on the outside, we might think differently, and we might act differently and not approve of how this one or that one. But the essence is there is a line, a connection, a golden thread of grace and love that runs through every single person. And when you're looking at, I don't know, murderers and what we think are bad people, their actions are bad, but they have that essence in them. It's just a little buried. It's buried.
Yeah, yeah.
And the more we can hold that higher thought, that loving thought the more I know, the more we shift the world.
No question. And so we were talking a little bit earlier where I think this is so powerful is, the world right now is a very interesting place. And there's
Yeah.
a lot of fear, a lot of anger, a lot of division, a lot of chaos. And, I find that this political situation and I always say I'm not really, although I may align with one side versus another, I do that because that's just where my beliefs are more in alignment. But exactly what you were saying is so appropriate for what we're seeing now. It's like just because you don't align with one candidate or the other, Trump or Biden, we might as well just say it, doesn't mean that you have to hate the other one. And I'd like to have your thoughts about this. We know a lot of the same people. There's a lot of people that I have known for years that are on a conscious spiritual path, that their hatred, it's beyond hatred of one candidate or the other, is mind-boggling to me. And I'm like, well, it's like it's all spiritual except when you get down to Joe and Donald. I mean, what's up with that?
I do believe control is gained by fear, driving fear. I do believe that our press drives fear.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't watch the news, and it's so fear driven, well, there are too many topics to talk about.
Right.
And I wish more people were aware when they're saying, I hate so-and-so. What does that do energetically, one, to them? And what does it do to the universe? It puts it in a nosedive. If they could say, for instance, I mean, I happen to be a Trump fan, but I don't hate Biden. I don't care for his policies. I don't care where he's leading the country. But there's no hatred in my soul for the man.
Right.
I have compassion for him for the situation he's in. But I don't hate him. Why would I hate him? I don't know him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know him. He's not like how many people really know Trump? How many people really know all the altruistic things he's done and the kindness he's done? I happen to know people that know him, and they said he really is that way. He's tough, but he has that other part too. And I would say, look at his family. He must have done something right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but the people could just choose a partner, not pay attention to, I mean, choose a leader, not pay attention to the press, go by what they feel, what they see, look at the facts and go with that. Then we'd all be fine.
Right. Yeah.
We'd all be, I think I shared this with you before. I had a friend of mine, and some people have disowned me. I know they really haven't, but they act like they have. How could you disown me? I'm nice and fun. So anyway, and somebody said, I can't believe she was a friend of yours and she talks like that about you on Facebook. And I looked at him, I said, that friend of mine stayed up all night with me when my horse was dying. I said, that's a friend. What she does over there, that's nothing. The night with Willow is what it's all about. It's connection, it's love, it's caring, compassion, support.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
I choose to remember when I'm in the midst of this, the good times, the fun times, and we all make mistakes and we all make choices that offend somebody or do something, whether it's intentional or not. But if we can just think about the good times, just like you and I were laughing about the kids being up here, how many years? Yeah. The good times.
Exactly.
And I don't know if the chaperones thought it was so good. They were sleeping in their cars.
And then, of course, the rain was another
That's
issue.
what I mean.
Yeah, the daily.
The kids were in the barn aisle. They were on that porch. They were in the living room in the mobile home. I walked in, there were bodies. But it all worked, you know.
But it all worked. We all survived. I
Yeah.
mean, when I look back at, we would take these kids on outings every weekend, as I said, and often we were protected. Spirit had us. We'd load them in our van. We had that van, and then we'd have
Uh-huh.
about 10 volunteers packing these kids in, no seatbelts. We'd go have picnics. We'd take them of all places to the freaking ocean. None of these kids knew how to swim. I mean, the fact that they all survived. And then I remember we'd go to the communities where they lived, and they'd come running out, and the 4-year-old would be carrying a 6-month-old baby. Mama said I had to bring the baby. And I'm like, oh God, okay. So we just went, and you know what? It was grace. I mean, we were protected, and they had a blast, and we had fun. And
That's a pure example of absolute chaos and everything's perfect.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that relates to the world today. It feels like chaos. It looks like chaos. And yet underneath of it, like the people in India driving, underneath of it, there's a peaceful river flowing. And we
Mhm.
just have to put our toe in it every now and then and go,
Yeah.
oh, thank God. Yeah.
Well, and it was really the intention with the kids anyway, was just to show them a good time, and we were so much in compassion and love that everything else just melted away. And
One important.
I dream of when we can all respectfully agree to disagree and love each other, and not you know
Let all
have
that stuff fluff away and don't be so influenced by the media. We didn't even know those people. Why am I paying attention to them?
yeah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well,
So,
back to the fact we're kind of lazy. We want other people to tell us how to think.
yeah.
And critical thinking is a lost art, and I choose to find my own answers and not be influenced by only one person's. I can actually just let things filter through, say, well, that I kind of resonate with that. No, but I'm not like getting upset. How dare they say that or whatever. It's just sort of like open yourself up to find your way. And
Mhm.
yeah, so
And again, I think it comes back down to awareness.
mhm.
Just being aware. Where are my thoughts? Where are my feelings? Does that feel good to me? How can
Yeah.
I change it? And that other book, The Art of Grace, about am I consciously thinking about, am I moving gracefully? Am
Mhm.
I, in other words, I'm not interrupting other people as I move. Sometimes I do, but working on it. And do I am I compassionate towards them? Am I graceful? Do I make someone, let's say they've made a mistake, do I bring attention to it, or do I just let it pass over? Do I make them feel comfortable? If they
Mhm.
break a glass on oh, it's my grandmother's great antique. No. Or, oh, it's just glass. Who cares?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need more of that.
Uh,
The
we
world
do.
needs more of
Grace
that.
goes
Yeah.
along too with manners. There's proper manners, just opening doors, saying good morning to people, just little,
Yeah.
and a lot of that grace, manners, critical thinking have been lost.
Right. Exactly. And there's nothing to say we can't bring it back. I tend to I had an experience in Sam's Club a couple months ago, and I tend wherever I am, I just like walk around, and I give eye contact and nod and smile and say hi or whatever. And some lady, literally, she was probably easy in her mid upper 80s. And she stopped me and she said, "Thank you." I said, "For what?" She goes, "Just acknowledging me." And, it was just like, and she goes, "And I've noticed how you've been smiling and nodding at everybody." I never thought of that, but I will give our dad, our father was such a kind man. And even in his last years, used to love to go to Bob Evans to eat every day. And he would be with his walker holding the door open for everybody else. And he would always say, even to, "Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am." He would like,
Mhm.
and that was just, so I'm grateful for that influence. And we
Exactly.
and we need more of that. And I'll tell you
Exactly.
another funny story. I'd asked him one time that we were on politics, and I knew where he stood politically, but he was, other than saying, "You didn't vote for him, did you?" And I said, "Yes." And he just laughed. And that was it. It wasn't, but anyway, I had asked him one time he was very close to his siblings. And I said, well, about one of his sisters, I said, was she a Republican or a Democrat? He goes, I don't know. We never talked about that. I mean,
There,
and
there
so
you go.
it was, it didn't matter. And so I think it's fine if you want to talk about it or not, but it's,
I never knew what anybody was.
yeah,
I
yeah,
never knew. I
yeah,
didn't care.
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
anyway.
Shouldn't matter. But
No,
anyway, I think that as we wrap things up, this has been number one, Claudia. Great to reconnect and to hear some old stories, good memories, and you're just amazing. And you and Bill are just continuing to be an inspiration and light bearers, and just appreciate who you are and all you do.
I appreciate that. And I love listening to your educational, fun conversations. Yeah.
Well, they're just, I'm just here to share what's on my mind and take what you like and leave the rest,
And we are here to love everyone. And just as my father said on his deathbed to me, I said, Daddy, what's the best advice you'd give me? He looked at me, he said, mind your own business. And I thought, hot damn, you're right.
Well, there you go. The closing
So,
word of wisdom, mind your damn business, your own damn business, right?
yes. All right. God bless
Okay,
you.
well, thank you,
Thanks.
Claudia.
It was fun.
Blessings to you and Bill. Thank you. And
Yes.
I keep saying you guys, Ellen and I would love to have you visit.
Yeah.
Any,
And best to Ellen too, because we do have funny stories.
oh
with-
yeah.
Okay. Take
Okay,
care.
dear. Take care. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.